Hello, Mark, and thank you so much for joining us today. It's a privilege to be with you for a session that will be all about innovation and collaboration between wealth management firms and fintech. So let me start with the first question. Capgemini World Wealth Report 2021 talks about the OpenX Readiness Index. This is a structured methodology we have developed to evaluate the readiness of wealth management firms to collaborate at scale with startups. And we are very lucky to have Standard Chartered Bank as part of this program. So let me ask you, from your perspective, what are the drivers for Standard Chartered Bank Wealth Management to collaborate with startups?
Yeah, well, first of all, Pierre-Olivier, let me thank Capgemini for having me today. It's really great to be here. To your question, partnership and collaboration with startups has become critical in many ways for large banks like Standard Chartered. And I see three main drivers for us. The first one is innovation. Startups operate at the frontier edge of technology, and they provide us with access to very specific services that may otherwise take much longer to develop in-house. And we've set up a dedicated mechanism through SC Ventures to evaluate such ideas, not just for wealth management, by the way, but broadly for the whole bank, so that we can bring in some scale to our aspirations on innovation. And an example of a startup collaboration in wealth management is that we recently launched SC Gold Planner, a financial planner tool, in Singapore in collaboration with BTO. A second driver is the speed of response. The last 18 months have clearly demonstrated that we need to be fast and agile to respond to unprecedented circumstances, but also to changing client needs. So working with startups allows us to sometimes respond with more speed and efficiency. For instance, we launched a service called MyRM in collaboration with Moxtra, which allows our clients to interact seamlessly and securely with their relationship managers. And that was very handy when face-to-face interactions were made unfeasible during the pandemic. And the last driver is scale. Going forward, I believe that wealth management will become more and more democratized and start reaching the masses. We're working on solutions where partnerships will play a major role in taking wealth to the masses. And for instance, we're looking at extending discretionary portfolio management solutions to the mass segment. And for this, partnerships with startups and fintechs will be key.
Thanks for sharing all these drivers, Mark. Let me now turn, if you agree, to the challenges. And can I ask you to share with us some of the challenges that an organization like yours may be facing when trying to collaborate, again, at scale with startups?
Yeah, startups are definitely not a silver bullet. So I can see three challenges, or challenges in three categories. The first one I would say is enterprise-grade security and the readiness of the startup. Big banks like Standard Chartered operate in a heavy regulatory framework, and so we have strict information security, cybersecurity, and compliance regimes. And so one of the key risks that we need to manage working with startups is the compatibility of their technology with these requirements. And beyond the technology itself, it's also the readiness of the management and the mindset of the management of the startup. The second challenge is sustainability. We need to factor in the financial strength of the startup and their ability to navigate uncertain times and economic downturns. We want to partner for the long run, and therefore it's important that our startup partners have a sound financial standing. And the third challenge that I see is a sort of a reverse challenge. It's a challenge that we pose to startups. We have big financial institutions, have different timelines, and they operate at a different pace compared to startups. And for startups, that can be challenging because for them, it's sometimes a question of survival. They need to see the cash flow. But we have heavy internal requirements. We're sometimes complex and have heavy processes that can be overwhelming for startups. Now, these things we are trying to simplify, and we're working hard to simplifying those within Standard Chartered.
Absolutely, this is great, thank. And you mentioned readiness, so maybe I should have my last question about the Capgemini OpenX Readiness Index, given that, as mentioned, Standard Chartered is part of this program. Can I ask you, how useful is this global benchmark to compare the maturity of your organization to other players?
Well, I think it's a great initiative. We went through it, and it got us thinking more structurally about a framework to collaborate more and more with startups, and it was also very useful to get a sense of where the market is and how we compare with that. And we were pleased to see that we were not one of the laggards, so that was nice to see.
Yes, Mark, thank you so much for joining us today and sharing your thoughts. It's been a true pleasure to be with you today, and I really look forward to seeing you soon.
Pleasure was mine. Thank you for having me.